time, I have to call it that session. Thank you all. We'll move to the independents. We have 10 minutes through MPP McMahon.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask about housing. Thanks. I'm my own person. I know you're a big believer in transit-oriented communities, and I just wonder where you're at with the MTSAs.
That question should be directed to the Minister of Housing, as that is his purview. But I'm more than happy to speak about the 12 stations that we're building along our subway lines.
Have the MTSAs been signed off?
Again, that you're asking the wrong minister. That question is more appropriate for the Minister of Housing. That falls within his purview, and that is something.
Presumably, you two work together, and you would be building housing. All right, thank you. Working in silos, I guess. So now looking at resilient infrastructure. Sorry, Peanut Gallery. I'll take a minute back on that. Resilient infrastructure. Sorry, Chair. Can I have my time back? Because I cannot concentrate with the Peanut Gallery across from me.
I would ask all members to respect the member who has the floor's time.
Thank you. Resilient infrastructure. So the summer of 2024 ranks as the most destructive season in Canadian history when it comes to severe weather. These are figures that were recently released this past week by Insurance Bureau of Canada. We're all very worried about these storms that are upon us more regularly. And so based on initial estimates from analytics firm Catastrophe Indices and Quantification, Inc., weather events in the summer caused a combined total of over $7 billion in assured losses. Just wondering what your ministry is doing to work on existing infrastructure to make it more climate resilient and for future infrastructure, what the focus is there.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the member. I will remind the member opposite that stormwater infrastructure does fall within the purview of the municipality, but of course the province is always very willing to help, and that is why stormwater management infrastructure was included as part of the $970 million. Brampton, for example, the work that they're doing on the stormwater management side will help them unlock more housing, but it will also help protect existing homes, and it will help protect the quality of water. The best thing we can do is invest in water infrastructure. We need to make sure that water is clean, that it doesn't, because it has nowhere to go, end up in rivers and lakes and end up affecting the aquatic habitat. So one of the best things you can do is invest in stormwater and water infrastructure, which our government is doing with our $970 million investment. And I would encourage municipalities, I will always say this, they have a responsibility to continue to investing in their water infrastructure assets.
And are you familiar with when the Financial Accountability Officer came out a while ago about the high cost of inaction? And so what, we won't bring up the green belt, but that was, part and parcel. We need to have our green spaces and be investing in more and flood protection and just the focus your ministry has on that, taking it seriously.
$170 million worth of focus right now, actually. Thank you.
Okie doke. So now we'll move along to the Eglinton LRT. And so what is the total cost for taxpayers to construct the Eglinton LRT? And do we have any idea whatsoever as to when it will finally be open for ridership? Because obviously the head of Metrolinx has no idea.
Thank you. Always happy to speak about public transit, Mr. Chair. The Eglinton Crosstown West extension that we're building, the tunnel boring machine was actually dismembered because the tunneling work is completed and that line is underway. The Ontario line is also underway, as is Scarborough, and Yonge North is in procurement. And so the subway expansion plan is going very, very well. Eglinton Crosstown, the existing Eglinton Crosstown, that was a project that was started 13 years ago. Project was not initiated by this government. It was a project that was inherited. The Minister of Transportation is working very closely with Metrolinx and the TTC in the city in order to have it completed. It's my understanding that they're now working on integration with the TTC and they are working on final testing. Of course, all of us want that line to be open as quickly as possible, but it's important to note that this was a project that started 13 years ago that our government inherited, and we're trying to make sure that we can finish it and make sure that it is safe for users in the future. I'm not sure, Michael, if you'd like to add. Thank you.
Six of those years have been under this government. So, you know, what Ontarians don't like to see is finger pointing. In 6 of those years, how do we not, in the past 6 years and in the past 6 weeks, 6 days, 6 hours, how do we not know when this is going to open? I mean, for the businesses that are there, for Ontarians, Torontonians to jump on that train, you're mentioning that you're keen on building transit. And in the past, you know, when is it going to open, essentially?
This is a project that started 13 years ago. You're right, we have been in government 6 years. We are working very diligently to make sure that it is safe for users when it opens. We are working on integration with the TTC, but Mr. Speaker, a lot of what happened at Eglinton Crosstown is our learnings that we took. We presented the Building Transit Faster Act in order to remove those barriers, to make the process faster for us to build public transit, and we're seeing that as we expand our subway system. Again, Eglinton Crosstown tunneling is done. Tunneling at Scarborough is underway. Work on Ontario Line is underway. And the approach that now we're taking with our proponents, you'll see, is a progressive procurement, an alliance model where we are very much collaborating with our partners, and we have a development phase that can be anywhere from 12 to 18 months where parties sit down together and talk about risk, talk about schedule, talk about project delivery, and talk about some of the challenges. And that's the model that we are using. And we took those learnings from the Eglinton Crosstown experience so that we can make sure, of course projects take time, but so that we can make sure that we build them as quickly as possible so that the public can use them.
I mean, in other cities around the world, it wouldn't take 13 years. And, you know, I lived in Japan. It sure as heck wouldn't take that long. And even the 6 years that you've been in office. But now we're moving along to the Science Centre. What has been the loss of revenue from the abrupt closure of the Science Centre in June?
Thank you very much for the question. As you know, our government had a very difficult decision that it had to make a number of months ago based on an engineering report through RIMCUS. We found that it was very urgent. We shared that with the board. The board made a unanimous decision in order to not allow the public to visit the building any longer for safety reasons. Government stands by this decision, and there is work on its way in order to build a brand new science center and also to find an interim location. And I will also note that attendance has been going down to the existing science center since 2009. I will also note that in the AG's report, the AG specifically mentioned that many of the exhibits haven't been updated in many years, which presents the government an opportunity to build a modern science center for the future that families can enjoy, and we will do so on the waterfront, as well as have an interim location for families to enjoy.
Thank you. A little over 1 minute
Well,
remaining.
that's interesting about that report because, you know, the Science Centre didn't flood in the last storm we had, but the Premier's house did. So we're not closing that down, but I guess we can close the Science Centre down for all Ontarians. Just really interesting. So tell me about the interim place. Where, when, how? People are desperate. In 2024, to close something with science, STEM, tech is actually completely ludicrous and robbing our youth of their future careers and goals and activities. So where's this interim place?
Again, we did a call out to the market in order to find an appropriate interim location. We want to make sure that it's accessible, that it has enough space, that also the exhibits can function within that space. And the ministry staff are evaluating this as we speak. When we have an update to the public, we will provide it. It was an unfortunate circumstance that the board of the Science Center made the decision to close it to the public, but that is the reality nonetheless. But again, there will be an interim location, and there will be a brand-new Science Center for the public to enjoy for years to come.
At this time, I must cut you off, Minister. Thank you. That concludes the 10 minutes, and we move back to the government side. MPP Bailey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being here again. One thing I want to ask a question about, no one else has, so I'll ask. Something I walk by every day when I come to work, the McDonald block. I'd like to know some progress where we're at with the McDonald block. I think it's going to save a lot of money whenever we can get, I understand, as many as 6,000 Ontario Public Service in that building. I know we're renting numerous buildings around the city in the downtown core. So could you give us a little update on that and just where we're at? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. Yes, that work is underway. That work started a number of years ago, and we were able to continue during COVID, which was a very good thing. Unfortunately, the project has met some challenges, and there is a delay. We've been forthcoming with that delay, and currently today we are negotiating with partners to make sure that we can finish the job as quickly as possible. But one of the benefits is that we'll be able to house 2,000 more OPS workers within that complex, which means that it'll give us the ability to reduce our lease space here in Toronto, which, as you know, can be costly. So we're working very hard. I was leading the negotiations and terms in order for us to finish that project and get that building ready for the hardworking OPS staff. Oh.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I would just highlight that the McDonald Block complex reconstruction is an excellent example of the unexpected things that happen when you rehabilitate in situ a 50 to 60-year-old facility with unknown conditions associated with it. And it's very instructive in respect of what happens when you try to do that.
Thank you. I'll yield my time to my colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister, for all the information you have supplied. And the Ministry of Infrastructure has a history of delivering major projects to ensure the needs in the province are met. I'm talking about Mississauga, where we have the LRT, the Hazel-McKillian line. We are talking about the hospital, the biggest hospital in the Canadian history. It's almost like close to 1,000 bed. This is going to be the biggest current and historical, as well as the biggest ER in Canada overall. And lots of infrastructure projects like the water and waste, which the municipality just got to be able to meet their housing needs and affordable housing needs and different levels of housing needed in Mississauga, which is growing. Now currently is the sixth biggest city in Canada, and I think very soon is going to be the fifth coming to that spot now. Now the ministry play a crucial role into this growth in Mississauga and any other municipalities in Canada. We announced that the government is putting major investment of more than $190 billion to help fund major infrastructure projects in the province. Can you elaborate on how these investments will be used towards and how this will benefit all Ontarians?
Thank you very much. Peel Region and Mississauga is a very big beneficiary of that $190 billion. You're right, with the most recent Peel Water announcement, with the Trillium Mississauga largest hospital investment in the country. With the Hazel-McKillian line, providing public transit for those who live in Mississauga, but also the extension to Brampton, connecting Peel Region, community centers through the Investing in Canada infrastructure program, as well as other funds. But it's really important to the people of Ontario. People of Ontario, when they need health care, they should have a hospital and the capacity there to serve them. They should be able to access public transit reliably. And they should have those community amenities and facilities in order to have a good quality of life here for their children and their families. And so $190 billion is a historic amount that we're spending on infrastructure, but it's certainly well worth it, and Ontarians appreciate it.